campaign. I mean, when you say, when the Congress president speaks in an open stage, open platform, and he sort of addresses his own party colleagues and he says chut-put strike, and the Congress then backs it up, and there are other political parties of the India bloc that sort of dismiss what has been now internationally welcomed and heralded as a new paradigm in military warfare as a chut-put strike. I think the opposition is now exposing itself as being churlish. And that's really where I stand, and I think that, you know, somewhere along the line the opposition should introspect, because they are giving ammunition to a large number of others who may not be in this country to amplify all of this, especially Pakistan, at a time when India is embarking upon a very, very important global mission to explain our case and the reasons why we did what we did, the compulsions behind it, and of course make a case against Pakistan so that some of these world powers, when they are thinking of exercising their vote at the UNSC or any other particular platform, will do so judiciously and will do so in a manner that is sympathetic perhaps to our cause.
So, but beyond the politics closer home, I'm talking about this entire legacy issues. Aka, where do you stay on the, where are you on this? That had certain actions been taken or certain decisions been taken in a certain manner, the role of the ball of history would have been in a different direction. And Bharat has been pegged back multiple times because this issue of Kashmir, and at that time it could have been resolved and it isn't. And time and again we see not just historians but Prime Minister Narendra Modi go back to this, saying that those decisions that were taken between 46 and 52 were critical ones. And that's continuing to hurt us even today, be it Pakistan or be it with the matter of Aksai Chin and China.
See, Anand, I don't think anyone of us can go back in time and fix the mistakes of history. It's all documented. It's all there on record. I mean, what India could have done, what Pandit Nehru could have done, sending the Indian troops, going all the way up to POK, history would have been different. But that's not the reality that we inhabit right now in 2025. I think what has happened is, and I want to go back to the words that the Prime Minister used today, Saboot gang. There was a Saboot gang in this country, which happened after Uri, after Balakot. People were asking. Opposition in this country was asking, where is the evidence, right? Now, in this operation, because all of it was documented, it was caught on video, satellite images show this, all of it. I mean, it's there. I mean, the army has officially released it. So no one's asking where is the saboot, because the saboot is already there, and even the enemy is talking about what the saboot is. But having said that, does the opposition have a role in a democracy like ours? Does it have the right to ask questions? Are there questions that need to be asked about some of the lesser known parts of Operation Sindoor? Of course it needs to be asked, but it needs to be asked in Parliament. It cannot be asked on Twitter. It cannot be this public discourse, this sparring that's happening between the opposition and the government. It has to, because I believe, look, in a democracy, even on issues like national security, we need to have honest conversations. I mean, if you go back, look at Kargil, for example, right? There was a whole K. Subramaniam report that came after that. It was adopted in Parliament, right? And that's the approach that we need to have. Even in the case of the US, they had a 9/11 Commission report, and they went into the issues threadbare. Who missed? Was there an intel leak? Who is responsible and so on? What can the system do to learn from it? That needs to be done. But this whole business of somebody referring to the foreign minister as JJ, somebody saying, oh, he gave advance notice to Pakistan. I mean, these are serious issues. People need to have a sense of gravitas about it. It can't be a juvenile Twitter talking point or a Twitter trend.
Is it deliberately being made juvenile and the level of discourse is being lowered because there is no argumentative point? And it's coming from, perhaps stemming from an entity whose former Prime Minister said not a blade of grass grows there, as all of Aksai Chin was given away. The same Prime Minister had said sorry to the people of Assam, saying we cannot do anything for you. But it was the presence of an Indira Gandhi in Assam, and there were different issues, and that's the reason why perhaps today all of that Northeast is still with us and not with the Chinese, under Chinese occupation. 74. The entire nuclear doctrine, saying we'll share the nuclear doctrine post Pokhran 1, that is documented. What happened between 62 and 64 post this one, 1962, this one's the commission. All of these are documented. At some point, does the party that is trying to pass these small jokes, Rahul, have to sit down and say we made big strategic mistakes. When we gave up the UN Security Council
Look,
seat,
Anand,
when we said we'll shut down ordnance factories,
what difference?
everything, you know,
Look,
because it's a legacy thing.
A mea culpa at this stage makes no real difference. It's not going to rewrite history in any manner that will favor us. Right?
No, but
the mistakes have been made.
This generation is bearing the brunt 7.5 decades later, right?
I think, you know, for example, I went and did this debate on that Nishikant Dubey note that he pulled out. And, you know, the opinion was divided because, yes, advance notice, but you have to look at the context at that time. You have to look at what the situation was, why we needed to engage with Pakistan in that particular way. Why was this process instituted? Why did it continue? It continues. It's not as if it has been rescinded. So it continues. Why is it still continuing? If it was such an imposition on India, why wasn't it scrapped in 2014 or when the NDA first showed up on the political scene when they were in government in 1998 and so on and so forth? So I think, forget that just for a few moments. I want to get really to the nub of this issue, and that is political insecurity. This is what it is. Now, I cannot say that, oh, because you made a mistake in the past, you can't ask a question today. You have no legs to stand on to ask a question today. I think that might be stretching it too far because, you know, legitimately these people can turn around and say, but those were decisions that were made 50 years before and we are not answerable for those and this, that, the other. But my point is, again, if you're asking questions just to score political points, you're going to be judged by the questions you ask.
Yeah, exactly. I
you
agree.
see, you're going to be judged by those questions. Posterity will record the questions that you're asking, not the answers you're getting. No, and that's the problem.
And not just the questions, but also where the intent then comes. Because somewhere, this is perhaps reflective of our own polity, which thought 5 years hence for the election, they didn't think 50 years later how secure my country is going to be. If there are notes which say, it's okay, we'll give away, like Aksai Chin, we'll give away Punch, we'll give away Mendar, just give us this area. They've not thought about that 22-kilometer stretch in the Siliguri corridor. How can that be strengthened in such a way that the Northeast does not become vulnerable, that Johnny come lately, who's a US citizen, sits in Bangladesh and says, oh, you know, this is the jugular and this is what it is. So I think those are somewhere, don't you feel that politicians have to look beyond the party and say, what is it that's going to happen 20 years down the line for my country and its people 20 years down the line? How are we going to be safe and secure?
So look, the Siliguri corridor, as was evident during the 2017 Doklam standoff at the India-China-Bhutan tri-junction, is a strategic choke point, and it is something that India needs to find ways to sort of insulate. And India has, you know, enough regiments there, enough, you know, Air Force squadrons there. I think what people are missing, especially what the opposition is missing, is look at the two benchmarks, right? The worst terror attack on Indian soil was 26/11, right? And the then Air Force Chief, Fali Homi Major, is on record to say we had given the political leadership at that time strategic options to cross the line of control and hit, even options to not cross the line of control but still hit these terror launch pads. And the political leadership at that time took a call not to do that for whatever reason. Today, after Operation Sindoor, and this is net, this is how history will remember, you know, Mr. Modi and this new doctrine that he's created, that he has shown from 2008 to now 2025, in a span of 16 years, India has shown that there is a range of options which are sub-nuclear, where you can hit Pakistan and make it feel the pain. It can hit 9 terror hubs, 2 of them in the heart of Punjab, and it can hit 11 air bases, all in a matter of 4 days, so that the next time, and I was speaking to Mr. Devasher earlier today, he says if you are Asim Munir, he's going to have to go back to the drawing table, to the drawing board, and say that, look, this was my strategic calculus. I could always have this nuclear threat, nuclear bluff against India, and India would be restricted in what it does. What Operation Sindoor has demonstrated is that there is very real active pain that can be imposed and costs that can be imposed on the enemy, calling out that nuclear bluff without it getting to the nuclear run.
You make a very fair point, because General Vij, 2003 to 2005 former army chief, he's written a book, Alone in the Ring, and there he says Bharat does not have a security doctrine, a national security doctrine, which outlines how we as a nation in a continuous policy need to, if you don't want to put it in words, nations have done it, you don't want to document it, but at least have a loose structure which is top secret, which is there with the people holding the highest office, and there is a continuity. Because with Bangladesh, we didn't have a national security doctrine. And look where it has brought us today. We are on the one hand, there is a terror state in the western side. On the eastern side, this is a state which has become a hub for insurgents. And we don't even know where this is going to go. There is an army, there is an Awami League that's banned, and a Sheikh Hasina who's currently taken asylum in Delhi, and there is another lunatic there in Mohammad Yunus who's neither a Bangladeshi citizen, he's a US citizen, he's an interim advisor, he's neither going, and then Khalida Zia's son is sitting in London. So these are all foreign nationals who are running that country. 12 of those people, policymakers, have got foreign passports in Bangladesh. Why weren't we watching? This is our neighborhood and it's going to affect us.
Well, look, I mean, there are all these questions that have to be asked, but unfortunately, no one's asking the relevant ones. And that's why we're having this conversation with the top band that says what it says. So fundamentally, I think politics has completely and continuously overshadowed what really are the important issues. Just to bring it all back. Of course, you need to have an approach that is foresightful when it comes to managing your own neighborhood, etc. And you can always argue that this person came in and that person came in and he altered the equation in this particular fashion and that particular fashion. But your response, of course, has to be an institutionalized response, which is above and beyond. But remember, in this country, we're a democracy, and any decision to go up, take action against an enemy state is always a political one. Don't forget that. So the consistency actually has to come at the political class. And that's the fundamental point here.
Listen, politicians will come and go and there'll be politics at play. But a nation, the politician's existence is because there is a nation in place, right?
The military,
if the structure of that nation is going to be
continuously war game scenarios. And that's why even in a short span of 15 days, we could exercise the options that Zaka just talked about, saying that, Tilak Devashaya talked about these options. It's because all of these are a continuous process of,
see, there is clarity,
wargaming, etc., etc. There is clarity at that level, but there's no clarity at the political level.
No, see, and a US of A, how is it that we as Indians and the government of the day does not feel ashamed that a US of A sitting on the other side of the world is influencing what's happening in my backyard? Well, and I'm doing nothing about it as a nation, and I've got no control.
Look,
Bangladesh, we're just sitting and watching.
Superpowers, the reason why they are superpowers is because they're able to protect power beyond their
we should be the big daddy in this region.
I think, honestly, if you were to get into the weeds of what's happening in Bangladesh, I think there's going to be a serious implosion in Bangladesh, politically speaking, because it's clear that the army chief and the head of the interim government are not on the same page. It's headed for a blowout. You're talking about a country where for the last 3 days, government employees have locked up the Secretariat building. Imagine locking up North Block and South Block, and these government employees are protesting outside North Block and South Block. I mean, that is the equivalent of that is what is happening in Dhaka right now. It is ripe for an implosion. And why I say implosion is because the two major political parties, political vehicles over the last 30, 40 years in that country, the Awami League and the BNP, today are non-existent.
Yeah, true.
So where is the vent? Where is the political channel for all of this frustration to come out? So I think it's on a ticking time bomb, and I would dread to see what comes.
So two nations in our neighborhood, both owe their existence to Bharat, are perhaps on the cusp of military rule. And what has Bharat done about it? One in the next 24 hours, the other perhaps in the next 6 months. We leave you on that note. Plain Speak up next.
Welcome everyone. Thanks a lot for staying with us. You're watching Plain Speak with me, Shivani Gupta. Operation Sindoor started with a rare show of bipartisan support in India. But soon enough, the fight against terrorism has turned into a political fight. Some factions of the Congress and like-minded parties like the Shiv Sena UBT initially agreed to support the government but have since descended into complete politicking. It has come to a level where one leader has even